So hey guys, check this out. Jim Carrey just recently ripped into Will Smith, and at the same time, he exposed Hollywood for who they actually are. Now, he starts off by saying that he is sickened, right? Jim Carrey, Mr. Comedian, Mr. Hollywood himself. Jim Carrey says, "Look, man, I am sickened. I'm sickened because Hollywood took the opportunity that they had to rebuke Will Smith. They took it to basically applaud Will Smith instead, right? He basically says that I am sickened by the standing ovation that Hollywood basically gave Will Smith right after this insult. And yeah, you know, it's like it's just unbelievable. But this just further, like think about what it is to be in a cult, right? Like I once was in a cult and I did not know I was in a cult until the truth of God was revealed to me, and I decided to pursue after that truth. The problem is there are many in Hollywood who are not interested in pursuing truth, not interested in being in the minority, not interested in being the one to rebuke instead of applaud, not willing to be the one to reveal or expose instead of hide and shield, right? I watched it, man. I took it in, and it seemed like Will Smith made himself the victim, the innocent one, the one who's basically standing up for the vulnerable, and all of Hollywood was on his side. And I know that I know that many there within their hearts, because Chris Rock is obviously loved. Many of them knew that Will Smith was in the wrong, but they were scared. There are many Christians that are scared to speak the truth, to rebuke, and to expose certain things for what it is. Maybe you go to a church right now and there's a lot of bad stuff happening and you don't know what to do, but you just basically fall in line because everybody else is falling in line. And that's exactly what I see in Hollywood, right? I know for a fact that there are people there who didn't want to fall in line, but they just decided to fall in line, right? But that's not godly. That's not godly. It's okay to be in the minority camp. It's okay to call things for what it is. And basically, Mr. Jim Carrey stood up and said, these guys are, yeah, these guys are basically cowards, And he also further he goes on to say that these guys are spineless. Basically, there's no spine. Like these guys can't stand up for anything. This used to. He goes on to say this used to be like the cool club, right? But it doesn't seem like it's a cool club anymore. It does not seem like it's a club that, you know, the cool people should want to be interested in joining. And that's because Hollywood is being led by Satan himself. Okay, we live in a world now where the only time wrong could be considered wrong is if the majority considers it wrong. The only time where right could be considered right is if the majority considers it right. So I know that many people were shocked, but the first thing that should have occurred was Will Smith should have been escorted out of the building. There should have been a huge rebuke. There should not have been an award given to him. This is just common sense, at least you would think. But this is like, I kind of see it like, in many churches, right? In churches, cult led churches. As I said, I've been in a cult led church, and it's like you just don't know right from wrong. Like your right from wrong is determined by the agenda. It's determined by the people above you, you know. And he basically says, Jim Carrey says, you guys are spineless. And then he goes on to talk about, the fact that, if it was him, basically, Will Smith could basically wake up to a lawsuit, a potential lawsuit here, and it's like, yeah, bro, that's not cool, right? He goes on to call Will Smith selfish, right? Because he stole the moment, he stole the shine, right? He took the energy and everything that the night was about, and he basically, in a sense, glorified himself in the moment. Now, Will Smith did come up with an apology. It was in the heat of the moment. Sure, things happen, right? Obviously. And, to see Will Smith act that way and do that, you know, this is another thing. We have to be very careful, um, not to be so quick to throw stones either, right? Very, very, very gracious, very merciful is the believer, especially when we see a brother or sister fall into sin. We have to be very careful in regards to how we seek to restore such an individual. So, this could have been any one of us, right? Like, you cannot say, I will never, like Peter said, I will never deny you, Jesus. Well, it's only by the grace and the strength of God and the power of God and the mercies of God that you're not in a situation where, it basically forces you now to do what you really thought you would never, ever do. But yeah, that was in the heat of the moment and all of that. And I get it. And I think that, obviously his apology, you know, it was necessary. And look, I applaud him for that. But Jim Carrey touches on some and by the way, Jim Carrey applauds him for that as well. But consequence is necessary. Sin ought not to go unpunished. There ought to be consequence. There ought to be repercussions. And when we fall short and when we turn, we ought to be ready to basically um, receive and accept that which naturally comes because of sin, right? Like, sin will always lead to something destructive, but only by the mercies of God and by the grace of God, God will even use that which is destructive to restore us. So I just wanted to share this quick video in regards to, like, my thoughts on this. Will Smith was in the wrong. It's great that he apologized, but this was sickening, right? When you really take it in, this was spineless. Um, Talking about lawsuits and whatnot. Well, obviously that's Chris Rock, right? It's up to him. But at the end of the day, yes, consequences for sinful actions, no matter who you are, it's inevitable. But we could only trust in the grace of God to keep us, in regardless of how we feel, and regardless of how sin comes and tempts us. It's like the story of Cain and Abel. God says to Cain, be careful, because sin desires to have you, but do not give yourself over, but you shall overcome sin's desire to basically take you and move you to operate and to move in the flesh. And we know that Cain gave himself over to his emotions. Will Smith gave himself over to his emotions, right? But anyways, the main thing is we have to, my prayer is that as believers, no matter what, if we see something occur that is not of God, let us not applaud as if it is of God. Let us be bold. Let us be the minority. Let us stand against the nonsense. And let us not be deceived, as many are being deceived, being led astray by a variety of doctrines, being led astray by a variety of abuses, for the sake of feeling like we are in the camp that basically got it right. No, the majority camp could be wrong, and in this case, clarity, they are. Anyways, guys, that's all I really wanted to share. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to Aim High, and hit that notification bell as well so that you will not miss an upload. You already know it's all love. Until next time, love you guys. Peace.